Kabul. So I think they had been planning it. The timing is a mystery, why they did it exactly at this moment, given that they've known that he was there. So that's my first reaction. The second reaction is, of course, as Jeremy has also said, that it's far better when these things are done legally. Because to show that state terrorism is more powerful than individual terrorism is bizarre. I mean, everyone knows that. The United States is more powerful than virtually the rest of the world put together, so we don't need a demonstration of that. What we needed, which Obama didn't talk about, was why wasn't he captured alive? They could have done that if they knew where he was. The Pakistanis could have been told to do that and tried in a court of law. That would have been genuinely educative and revelatory to try him, to prove him guilty, and then to imprison him, or whatever. But they didn't go down that route.
Tariq, we've just gotten Musharraf Zaidi on, and I want to make sure we get him in from Islamabad. Musharraf, you were early on tweeting that a U.S. helicopter had gone down yesterday. This is before we knew anything about Osama bin Laden being dead. What is the latest you understand, especially of Pakistani involvement in the killing of Osama bin Laden? And what is the reaction today in Islamabad?
Thanks, Amy. I'm actually driving from Abbottabad to Islamabad right now, after having spent the better part of the day there. The helicopter apparently fell on during the operation on the compound of a little plot of land on which bin Laden was living. There's been a kind of an implicit denial by the Pakistani government in its official statement about Pakistan being intricately involved in this. But the notion of there not having been any involvement by Pakistan in this, it rings nonsensical and a little bit far-fetched. The city Abbottabad it's a garrison town. It was founded by a British major in 1853. It's kind of a hill station. A lot of people enjoy the weather there during the summers, and so people have sort of a dual residence. Abbottabad itself is the largest urban area between the Punjab province, which is the largest province in Pakistan, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, which is a province, it's the Pakhtun province, it's the province in which so much of the activity that's been happening in Pakistan is sourced. The specific neighborhood is a reasonably sort of middle class, upper middle class neighborhood. The house is said to have been electronically fenced and well guarded. The idea that bin Laden got from Tora Bora to that house over the last 7 or 8 years without a single element of the Pakistani state knowing about it, it just doesn't ring true. What rings even more hollow is the notion that somehow U.S. military choppers, gunships could fly into Pakistan undetected by the radars and hover above the house, have one of the choppers crash, have another chopper end up there, kill bin Laden, take a few of the people there, capture them, and fly them away. And all of this could happen without any coordination, any kind of approval, any kind of at least data or information sharing with the Pakistani security establishment, with the Pakistani state. It just sounds like really the flight of somebody's fancy.
And the plane that went down yesterday, the helicopter, the U.S. helicopter, though they said no one died in that crash?
That's right. We heard that there were no casualties. Nobody, as far as I know, nobody's actually seen the wreckage so far. People did hear a massive blast, and the reports locally and internationally were that a helicopter had fallen there. Originally, we were told that helicopter was a Pakistani helicopter. Today, the line has been that they were both U.S. helicopters. sources in Pakistan that are reasonably trustworthy confirm that they're U.S. helicopters. Some people say 2, others say 4. But the compound itself, the location where this happened, and the fact that a helicopter went down again. Allegedly, a helicopter went down suggests that this was a significant operation and it would have been possible without the support of parts of the Pakistani state.
Jeremy Scahill.
Also, on the issue of the helicopter, I mean, we understand that it was what's called a Little Bird helicopter, which is a very lightweight helicopter that Blackwater types and JSOC types have often used in Iraq and to an extent in Afghanistan. The reports are that it was then destroyed by the U.S. forces after it went down, and the official line is that it was a mechanical failure. There are other reports that say that it was brought down by some kind of arms fire from within the compound. I mean, we probably won't know that. I would concur with what Musharraf is saying. I mean, the idea that U.S. Special Ops forces are operating in Pakistan without the knowledge of the Pakistani government is, in fact, ludicrous. And that's why, when this deal was originally brokered by Musharraf and McChrystal, the public posture had to be that the Pakistanis would deny it. Let's remember, too, that this killing of Osama bin Laden takes place just months after Raymond Davis, who was a man who straddled the world of both the CIA and Special Operations Forces, killed 2 men in Lahore, Pakistan. And then, after weeks of controversy, was eventually taken out of the country after payments were made to the families of his victims. One of the things that Raymond Davis is suspected of having done inside of Pakistan was having communications with people in the tribal areas, but also potentially targeting Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is a terrorist organization behind the Mumbai bombings that has been designated by the U.S. as a state sponsor of terrorism, and that the U.S. accuses of having very close ties to the ISI. So the timing of this operation coming as soon as it did after this epic scandal with Raymond Davis, perhaps the most serious crisis between Pakistan and U.S. governments in a decade, or maybe even since the ransacking of the U.S. Embassy in Islamabad in 1979, is curious to say the least. But I think there's 2 questions here. Were the Pakistanis giving sanctuary to Osama bin Laden in this town that Musharraf has just described, a heavily populated town with big military presence? And what was the full role of the Pakistani government in ultimately killing Osama bin Laden? Because it was Special Ops Forces and not the CIA, it would indicate that there had to have been very high-level discussions between the U.S. and Pakistan about this, but the Obama administration says no intelligence was shared with any government, including the Pakistanis. So this mystery, I think, is going to continue to deepen.
Musharraf, his on the ground, the response in Pakistan?
I mean, the response here is, at least to people that I spoke to, and I had the chance to speak to a couple of bloggers, IT professionals, a few students who were studying to be software engineers, and then ordinary folk that were just walking around the neighborhood where this happened, who were either from the neighborhood or work in that neighborhood. I think the one word that I would use to describe